Lucy, it seems the most obvious question, but in things that you've said about wanting to come back to the WSL and having missed out on the crazy 2 years since winning the Euros, what did you feel you missed about it the most?
I wouldn't say I missed something in that time. It was nice to look on and see, obviously, my teammates, England teammates, doing well and the league going, you know, to another level. I think it was more just like coming back to be a part of it rather than like missing it necessarily. And yeah, every time I play for England and the Lionesses and we go to Wembley or we're around the country and you feel that excitement and that vibe that we've brought women's football, you know, home 2 years ago, and just to see it carry on in the league is fantastic. So it's nice to come back and be a part of that.
Because you always like to travel. You've said to me before that you can never stay in one particular place. With Chelsea, do you feel this is it now?
I don't know. I'll have to wait and see. I think I like to feel comfortable where I am. You know, I absolutely loved it at Barcelona. I did it at Lyon as well. Also in America, I've travelled these places. They're places that I keep in touch with many people there. I go back and visit. So it's not like I've ever fallen out of love with them. It's just like, oh, what's next? What else can I do? I think I'm not someone who plans too far ahead. I've got 2 years now with Chelsea, minimum. Might stay longer, might not. We'll have to wait and see how it goes. You know, things, especially in women's football, I think things change so quickly. If you told me 6 years ago, you know, I'd won 2 Champions League with Barca, I'd be like, but then they're not good in the Champions League. You know, it can change. Like, it can just, in a couple of years, you can change your squad, you can have investment, players improve, players grow, and things change. When
did you decide to leave Barca then?
I think the second half of the season at Barca, I was starting to think, like, it's a lot of travel, there's so many more games. At the very end of the season, I was, before the Champions League final, I was like, I can't stay here any longer. That was why it was so easy when Sonia came, you know, with that kind of question, do you want to come? It was so easy for me to say, yeah. Like, I already knew I was leaving Barca, and it was just like, needed to find the right fit for the next step.
Did your mind wander then, before that perhaps, when you played Chelsea in the semi-final in that Champions League?
I don't think so. I was so focused on Barca, so focused on winning the Champions League. In that moment, I hadn't thought of what was next. I just knew I wasn't staying, but my heart was so much in that team and making sure that we won. And I mean, I think the Chelsea game at Stamford Bridge, I think anyone watching saw I give my body, soul, blood, sweat, tears into that game to make sure I got my team to a Champions League final. But I hadn't, the thought of Chelsea or anywhere in England or America hadn't specifically crossed my mind at that moment.
You must have liked what you saw though, the opposition that you were facing, and in that moment at Stamford Bridge.
Chelsea are a well-respected team in Champions League. I think because that grit, that determination, that's something that's so hard to put into a team and instill in a team. You know, Barca and Lyon are fantastic teams. They know how to win and they play lovely football. Chelsea can do that as well, but they've just got this, you know, they had, I think, 5 starting players missing that day, and it was still like, they had this belief in them. They would fight until the end, even with 10 players. I think that's part of playing in England as well. I know that as an English player, I think that's something that me and Kira both noticed in Barca when we played against Chelsea. It's just like, oh, it's like playing for England. Yeah, they like go toe to toe with anyone, regardless of what on paper, you know, the result should be.
And this is one of the things you want to do with Chelsea.
Well, yeah,
is to win Champions League.
Exactly. I think it's the thing that Chelsea are obviously missing. Well, it is. It's not even what I think. Winning the league several times, that's been done. FA Cup finals, County Cup finals, everything. Beating Barcelona, beating Lyon, they've done that. Getting to the final, it's like the only thing that Chelsea's missing, and something that I'm missing is lifting the Champions League with an English club.
Tell me about how difficult it is then. You've talked about this in the past, but how difficult it is for a WSL team to win the Champions League?
Well, I think the thing with when I played at both Barca and Lyon, it was like business constantly. Every weekend it was like, we need to make sure that the league's done, because when it comes to Christmas and you need to start focusing more on these big games in Champions League, we need to be able to push on that, and while still focusing on the league. And I think, you know, in the English league, a lot of teams maybe struggle at the start of the season to get into the groove of it, maybe drop points against teams that they shouldn't perhaps do that, and they think, oh, it's okay, we can still go for the league, but then by the end of the season you're fighting for the FA Cup, the League Cup, the County Cup, the Champions League, and it's balancing all those things is very, very difficult. You obviously have to have a bigger squad, which is something that Chelsea definitely now have. And yeah, you have to be able to focus on all the different things. Whereas yeah, in both for Lyon and Barca, I think we'd got ourselves in really comfortable positions in the league come those semi-final, final stages of the Champions League.
And I guess we see that in recent seasons with the WSL, because it goes to the final day.
Mm-hmm.
As players, you want that to make it that competitive?
As players, you just want to win the trophy. Yeah.
No matter how you do it.
Yeah, no matter how. I mean, of course it's exciting, and I can, one of my favourite times winning the league in England was with Liverpool, and we won it on the last day. It was like 3 different results going on at once. That moment, obviously, as a player that won that league, was unbelievable. But at the same time, if at that time we were playing in other competitions, I wouldn't want to be having to put 120% into that game and that game and that game and that game. It's so difficult.
The squad you've got now, as you've said, it's got the players. It's capable of getting over that line, isn't it, as far as you're concerned?
The team now ticks all the boxes. There's a coach who's won the Champions League. There's players who have won the Champions League, not just myself. There's other players in the squad. There's players who have got to the final. They've beaten the previous winners in the last kind of 5, 6, 7, well, probably 10 years is only Lyon and Barca. This Chelsea team has beaten both of those, but I think that still is kind of a switch of a mindset. And now, yeah, there's a squad at Chelsea where anyone could play. Because
of what you've won, European champion, club and country, you've continued that. You went to the World Cup in Sydney, and you reflect on that now. How would you describe that experience? Going so close.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've had so many of those in my career that it's, yeah, like I can imagine for maybe some of the younger, less experienced players in the England squad, it probably hit them harder, whereas that was my 4th World Cup, was it? 3rd World Cup, yeah. So I've finished 3rd, 4th and 2nd in World Cups. I've had many crushing experiences during those times, and I think 2019 I was in the best kind of form of my life. I was playing in Lyon as a club, and that was where the semi-final happened, and I think that experience was pretty crushing as an individual. I've had many moments that I've had to deal with and overcome. Thinking about 2019, having that feeling, and then going on to win a Euros a couple of years later, I think it's something that drives you as players. When I first started my England career, we hadn't made it out of a knockout game at a World Cup. The very first knockout game we won in a World Cup, I was 21 years old. I was one of the kids on the block. So we've come a long way, and I think I kind of always take myself back to that place of we've brought this team so far and we've achieved so much anyway.
Have you got another World Cup in you?
Of course I have.
Is that straight away after what happened in Sydney? Was that on the forefront of what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I mean,
and plan?
I think that's a big decision in coming back to England as well. I think being at an English club, being at Chelsea especially, I know that my body can be looked after better here. There's not as many games as there is in Barcelona. There's a lot less travel. I think the league's developed in a better way where the facilities are better here to be able to prolong my career, work and still be at the highest level in the league and in Champions League. And yeah, I mean, after the World Cup, even Serena sat me down and she was like, so is there any thought process about retiring? I said, I'm playing the next World Cup so we can stop this conversation right now.
Wow, straight away.
Yeah.
It's like as if nothing is going to stop you. Nothing. You are just going to carry on for as long as you physically can.
I love football. I absolutely love it. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm motivated by winning trophies and playing in finals. I come to training, I absolutely love it. Like, I love running around, I love pushing myself, I love playing in the games, trying to tackle players who are really good. Like, that's enjoyment. Why would I not play if that's what I like doing? If I retired tomorrow, I'd miss it so much.
What would you do?
What would I do? Well, I've already said I'm going to take over FIFA.
And rule the world.
Rule the football world. No, I would love to stay in football, but I don't think I'm a coach in pedigree or working within a club. But I think I've always been quite outspoken about issues in women's football and women's sport. I know that I've put myself in a place where people might listen to my voice a little bit more, so I feel a bit of a responsibility that I know I can make changes and help change, and I think it's what the women's game needs in the world of football, more female voices that are kind of there, you know, to make sure that the game gets where it's supposed to be and gets listened to, I suppose.
Well, until that happens, it's still a long way away in your mind.
Yeah.
Good stuff, thank you so much.
Thank you.